Thanks for staying with us. Time now for Eye on Africa with me, Georgia Calvin-Smith. Tonight, international protests spring up in South Africa and Brussels as demonstrators call for the EU and the global community to do more to sanction those accused of inflaming the conflict in eastern DR Congo. Also, Nigeria's cybercrime unit, which was recently named one of the best in Africa, this week sees 42 mostly Chinese foreigners appear in court in Lagos, accused of being the ringleaders of a cybercrime network. And it tells the story of us. The masked dance of the Dogons is central to the Ogo festival in Mali, which holds strong for its 10th year. But first, thousands of Congolese people living in South Africa's capital turned out to protest the violence that has gripped the east of their country. On Tuesday, the expats rallied at the EU embassy in Pretoria to demand sanctions against Rwanda for supporting the M23 rebels that marched on the city of Goma in North Kivu last week in an offensive that's cost at least 900 lives. Protesters accuse the EU of going easy on Kigali over its role in the conflict in DR Congo. Anger over the international response to the violence was also on show in Brussels on Tuesday. That's where our team was. They sent us this report.
Belgique complice! Belgique complice!
Although they're far from Goma, these demonstrators came to shout their anger in the EU quarter in Brussels. Their frustration is aimed at Belgium, the former colonizer of the DRC, but more importantly at the European Union, from whom they're demanding sanctions against Rwanda.
We're demanding an immediate end to economic collaboration with Rwanda, an immediate end to military support from the EU and Belgium for Rwanda, and also immediate sanctions against the murderous regime of Paul Kagame.
This protester is in regular contact with farmers in eastern Congo, and she can't hold back her tears when she hears their stories.
We can't go on like this. Mothers are raped, killed. When will this end? Until when? It has to stop. We are all human beings. And in the name of what? Cobalt? Minerals? It's too much.
Last year, the EU concluded an agreement with Rwanda on raw materials used in the construction of smartphones and electric cars. This is a scandal for this MEP, who believes that the EU has turned a blind eye to the illicit trade in minerals plundered by rebels supported by Rwanda in the DRC.
For years, the United Nations has been denouncing Rwanda's support for the destabilization and war in eastern Congo. With the aim of pillaging and stealing raw materials and minerals in eastern Congo, and what is the European Commission going to do? Make an agreement on these minerals specifically for Rwanda. So it really is encouraging violence and massacres in eastern Congo, and that's unacceptable.
Faced with criticism, the European Commission has said that it wants to reassess the partnership with Rwanda.
Well, although fighting has stopped in Goma itself, and authorities in M23 called a humanitarian ceasefire from Tuesday, the city remains cut off with humanitarian aid struggling to get in. Emmett Livingston's in Goma. He tells us more.
Germaine is still reeling from how quickly her life was changed by the M23 rebel takeover of Goma. Not only was she injured, but she also now bears immense grief for her lost family. They'd all taken cover inside their home when a mortar shell landed on top of them.
I lost a lot of blood. Shrapnel hit my shoulder. My daughter was also hit in the arm and foot. She had to be amputated. But my husband, my 10-year-old son, and my 18-year-old daughter were killed.
At least 2,800 people around Goma have been injured in less than a week, and hospitals are overwhelmed. Here in Ndosho, patients wounded from gunshots or explosions are packed in wherever there's space. They lie in hallways and tents. Doctors work around the clock, performing an average of 25 surgeries a day. But the hospital is short of everything.
We need bandages, medicine, everything needed to ensure proper care, because our warehouse was looted, so the situation is difficult. We asked for medication, but it takes about 10 days.
In the Congolese capital of Kinshasa, efforts are ramping up to try to save lives far in the country's east. Here, dozens of people have responded to the authorities' call for blood donations.
Before collecting someone's blood, there are certain things to check, especially blood pressure.
Medical teams are collecting blood from about 500 people a day. Many donors see it as a necessary act of patriotism.
The people who are on the front line today are young people like us. Since I have the opportunity to help, I can participate in this war by donating my blood to support the war effort.
At least 900 people were killed during the fighting in Goma, a death toll that is expected to rise.
Well, Nigeria's cybercrime unit was recently named by Interpol to be the best in Africa. Well, this week, 42 mostly Chinese foreigners appeared in 4 courts in Lagos, accused of being the ringleaders of a cybercrime network. Local young people were allegedly hired and trained to carry out identity theft. The suspects are among the 792 people who were rounded up in a fraud crackdown last November. Sam Olakoya tells us more.
42 foreigners, most of them Chinese, were arraigned in 4 courts in Lagos. They face charges of employing Nigerian youths to help them commit cyber fraud through identity theft. They are also accused of cyber terrorism. Nigeria's Economic and Financial Crimes Commission says the charges against them highlight serious offenses aimed at undermining Nigeria's security and financial integrity through cybercrime and fraud. The suspects are among the 792 people arrested late last year during a raid on what authorities have called the largest cybercrime syndicate in Nigeria. The foreigners who appeared in court are said to be behind the syndicate. Their arrest adds to the growing trend of foreigners being arrested for running cybercrime syndicates in Nigeria. In November last year, 113 foreigners, mainly from China, Malaysia, Indonesia, Brazil, Philippines, Vietnam, and Thailand, were arrested for their alleged involvement in high-level cybercrimes, hacking, and activities that threatened national security. A month ago, 4 Chinese, together with 101 others, were arrested in the capital, Abuja. They were alleged to be involved in job scams that target people in Europe. Cybercrime among Nigerian youths is widespread in a country where many young people are unemployed. Authorities are concerned at the disturbing trend of foreigners coming to Nigeria to establish cybercrime syndicates, with the country's youths providing ready labor.
Sam Olakoya there for us. Now, on Tuesday, a report was released that accused Anglican church leaders in South Africa of having dropped the ball in their dealings over a former member who had previously sexually abused boys in the UK and Zimbabwe in the 70s and 80s. John Smith fled to South Africa in 2001. And this week, a panel said that the church there should have reported him, even without evidence that he'd committed similar crimes in the country. Now, Smith had worked in parishes until 2014 and died in 2018. Last year, a separate review found that the Church of England had covered up Smith's abuse of at least 30 victims in the UK and 85 in Africa. He died in 2018. The South African Church has apologised to congregants.
I accept the panel's finding unreservedly. I acknowledge that during Smith's time in Cape Town, God's people were exposed to the potential of his abuse, and I and the diocese apologize to our congregants and the wider community that we did not protect people from that risk. We are in a repentant spirit.
Finally, in Mali, the Ogo Festival is celebrating its 10th year. Central to the gathering is a masked dance that's distinctive as a tradition of the Dogon community behind the festival. Clarice Fortuné tells us
Celebrations in the heart of Bamako. The Ogo Bagna festival, which means the Reef of Kings, celebrates the culture of the Dogon people every year. The highlight of the event is the parade of the Dogon masks.
The mask dancing ceremony is an important part of Dogon history and of the community. It's a ceremony that allows the souls of our deceased ancestors to enter the world of the forebearers, which is supposed to be the world of paradise.
Dogon culture comes from central Mali, a region that for many years has been inaccessible due to insecurity. Mask guide Sekudolo explains that each dance has a meaning.
They're either anthropomorphs or zoomorphs, since man, in the course of his life, has experienced the movements and the habits of these animals. This is how they come to mimic, in the course of the dances, what represents characters of the same kind of society. Now, this ensemble is designed to bring back to life the past of the deceased.
With artists from Burkina Faso, Niger, Senegal and Guinea taking part, the Ogo Bagna 2025 festival has taken on a sub-regional dimension. The head of Mali's junta, General Assimi Goïta, has proclaimed 2025 to be the year of culture. This announcement is part of a strategy to reinvigorate the social fabric of the country, which has been facing a deep security crisis, in addition to a serious economic challenge since 2012.
Well, that's it for Eye on Africa for now. Thanks for joining us, though, and do so again if you can. Till then, take care.